Hi guys, welcome back to Solidity Basics. In this section, we'll cover looping constructs in Solidity. Solidity supports for, while, and do while loops, just like other languages you might have already worked on. There's one limit of caution while using loops in Solidity. Don't write loops that are unbound because that would lead to an infinite computation on EVM and it will definitely hit the gas limit, causing your transaction to fail and causing you to lose money because of that. For the same reason, while and do while loops are rarely used in Solidity, because by default, the syntax of for loop is such that you'll have the starting and end condition in your mind, and the syntax forces you to think about that. But in while or do while loop, you might miss out on thinking about the end cases, and it could lead to an infinite execution that would land you in trouble. So we'll go through our example contract here. We have a simple for loop. We are initializing the variable I to value 0, and until the value of I is less than 10, we are increasing it by 1. So ideally this loop should run between the values of I is equal to 0 and I is equal to 9, including both. In the next iteration, when the value of I becomes 10, this condition becomes false and the loop terminates. Ideally that should happen. But in the next part, we'll see that if the value of I is equal to 3, we use continue. Continue is a keyword used to skip to the next iteration. So when the value of I is equal to 3, we'll skip to the next iteration. So this logic beyond this statement isn't executed. Any logic beyond continue isn't executed and the loop skips to the next iteration. So let's say if we were to print I beyond this, we won't see the value of I as 3. It would be like 0, 1, 2, and then 4, 5, etc. In the next part, we also see that if I is equal to 5, we use a break statement. Now, break statement is used to exit loop on certain condition. So when I becomes 5, we exit the loop. Any statement beyond break isn't executed and the loop terminates. So let's say if we were to be printing I beyond this, we would see the values of I as 0, 1, 2, 3 we won't see because we are using continue statement to skip that iteration. Then we would see the value 5 printed as 4 and we won't see 5 again because the loop terminates at the value 5 is equal to 5. In this snippet, we have a simple while loop where we are declaring a variable j, and until the value of j is less than 10, we increase it by 1. This is similar to how this for loop could be written as a while loop. But again, do keep in mind that you should try to use for loop wherever possible because by default the syntax is such that you might end up doing an unbounded computation on EVM, which is not very good. Let's check this out on Remix ID. So we have a contract ready here. We'll compile the contract. There are some warnings that we'll just ignore and then we'll deploy the contract. So we'll call the function loop and we see that the transaction ended successfully, but let's modify this and see how it works. So I have modified our contract a little bit. I have declared a public variable called x and I am assigning the value of I to x after our conditional statements. So let's see how this works out. Ideally, it should work out in a way that when the loop ends, the value of x should be 4 because the loop would exit at I is equal to 5 and this statement shouldn't get executed. So let's see how this works out. We have the value of x as 0 and then we call loop and then we have the value of x as 4. So the loop terminated at I is equal to 5. As far as infinite loop execution is concerned, we have already covered that in one of our previous videos. So you can go back to it to check it out again. Cool. See you in the next video.